afternoon. This is a quick video just showing how to build a flow that will automatically deactivate users who have not logged into your system in the past 45 days or however many days you decide. Quick note, my name is Michael. I am managing this YouTube channel called CRM Success. I've been a Salesforce administrator for 13 years, got 8 certifications, and I co-lead the Portland admin user group. And I'm also a really big fan of Salesforce flows. We use it all the time, everywhere in our org to just take away the burden of having to do some of these things manually over and over and over again. So welcome. Thank you for taking a look at this. What's our problem statement? In this case, well, users don't log in, and every, let's say 45 days, 2 months, 1 month, whatever, we get close to our license limit and we have to deactivate users who haven't logged in a certain amount of time. Well, we can actually automate this a little bit so that we don't have to go through the process of figuring out who to deactivate. We can just get some criteria set and have it taken care of automatically by the system. So the solution is to automate it. We're going to build a flow that finds users who have not logged into their Salesforce, into our Salesforce for X number of days. This is going to change according to what you need. And we're going to set their is active status to false. So let's get started. So you're going to want to go to your favorite flow source, either through setup and flow or through the new automation tab in your org, assuming you're a systems administrator and all kinds of things like that. But we're going to go in and create a new flow, and we're going to use the start from scratch option versus the template option. And then from there, we're going to just select a scheduled triggered flow. And we're using a scheduled triggered flow because we want this to run automatically, either on a daily or weekly basis. And we're going to set that schedule first, and then it's going to run on that set schedule, whether it's every day or every week. So once you've created it, you want to set the schedule. That's going to be the first part of it. At the top of the flow, let me just show you, slide over here and show this to you. I can't, but I will later. At the top of the flow, you will set your start date and your start time. And remember that your start time is the time zone that your system is in. So right now I've got this set to start at 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's where my system is located. And that's when it'll run this flow. The next thing you want to do is set your record criteria. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do the object that we're going to use is the user object. And we're going to do 2 things to start. I like to do these 2 things when I'm doing this flow. The last login date is null equals false. That means that there is a login date. There was a login. So they logged in at some point and they haven't logged in since then. This also eliminates us auto deactivating any new users who haven't had a chance to log in just yet. Let's say you created a user on a Friday. It's now Tuesday. They haven't logged in yet because they haven't gotten the email. They haven't gone through the setup process. We don't want to deactivate any users that haven't logged in ever. We just want to deactivate users who've logged in before and have not since logged in. The other criteria we're going to set is active equals true. We only want to look at the records. We only want to look at the records where the user is currently active. We don't need to deactivate somebody who is already inactive, so we can exclude those. So one thing to remember with the flow is that you're pulling in all these user records. You're pulling in all the user records. There could be however many users you have, active and inactive. Then we're saying I only want to look at the records where there's a login date value and the user is currently active. That'll eliminate the number of records your flow has to process through. So next step is now we got to actually build a new formula field. We need a new resource. So on the left-hand side of the screen is the resource builder. You're going to want to do a new resource, and that resource you're going to build is a formula. And then in there, we're going to put the following information. So give it a good name, give it a description. The data type we want is a number, and the decimal places are zeros. We don't need any decimals in this. We're going to use full days. Then we're going to put this formula into our formula box, and it's just flow.currentDate minus the date value of the record last login date. So let's talk about that for a quick second. The flow current date is the date that the flow is running, and the record, the $ record, is referring to the record that's being processed. So we're going to take that user record, and we're going to look at the last login date. Now that field, last login date, that's a date and time value. We just need the date. We don't need the time. So we're going to convert that to just a date by wrapping it in a date value function. So that's going to be our formula. Flow current date minus the date value of the last login. That's going to give us a number, a whole number. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 100, whatever it might be. That's our formula. Okay, so that's how we build that. That's going to use that. And we're going to use that formula. We're going to create a new element called the decision. We want to find records that qualify for deactivation. So how do we do that? Well, we want to have our outcomes. So we're going to have the decision element. We're going to have a left side of the decision and a right side of the decision. For the first part of it, we're going to say, I want all the records that are 46 days old since the last login. So I say, give it a title, and my resource is my formula. This is the formula I just created, days since last login. If that number in that formula is greater than 45, we're going to do something to the record. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything to the record. So the other piece of that is called the default outcome, but I like to give it I like to rename the default outcome from default outcome to the whatever this alternative solution is. So in this case, if it's 46 days ago, then the other option for me is it's within the range. They don't need to be deactivated. So that's your decision element. Very simple. Finally, with the records that meet the criteria and match the decision, we need to deactivate them. So we're going to do an update records element here, and we're going to do, give it a label, give it a description. We're going to use the record global variable. That is to say that the record that we are currently processing is the record we're going to be updating. We're not going to be updating a child record or a related record or something else. We're going to be using the record that is being processed through the flow. So that's the first radio button here. In this scenario, we're always going to update it. You may have different criteria. You may decide to do something else. You could do that as well. So we're just going to set the isActive field to false. So it's currently true. We're going to set it to false. That's all we have to do. Update that record, and then that's it. So when you're all done, this is the extent of this is what you looks like. Up here at the top, we've got our when this thing is going to start running, and the frequency. We're going to run this daily, starting today, the 12th at 3 a.m. in the morning. If you click in there, you'll see that the criteria for is active and etc. Then we've got our decision element here. This is going to look at the last login date based on the formula. If it's 46 days old or greater, then we're going to process and change their active status to false. Otherwise, you're just going to go within range and go to the end. So that is essentially it. You can obviously do whatever you want with this. You can create more decision elements to do things like profiles, or you can go get custom metadata and pull in values from custom metadata to do those things. The only thing to note of real significance is on the user record, you can only have one update per flow. So I couldn't have two updates in the same branch of my user flow. Just something to think about. If you try to do that, you will get stuck. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy to respond.